being able to represent people when they need you, just
Yeah.
having that opportunity
Yep.
to know that they're coming to you for help, and you have the opportunity to do that is really humbling, and it's something that I take very seriously, and want to work as hard as I can for them.
All right, we're sitting here with Mr. Tripp Segars.
Good to see you. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
Yeah, good to
So-
be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm originally from South Carolina and went to Clemson undergrad, moved out to Mississippi back in 2007, finished law school, been practicing now about 15 years with the Diaz law firm right outside of Jackson in Madison. Predominantly personal injury and mass tort firm. We've got a few lawyers, a few support staff. We do cases all around the country and get great results for clients.
Awesome. So you've been doing this for 15 years now. What types of cases are you yourself doing?
Well, I tell you, the first case I worked on back in 2010 was the BP oil spill litigation.
What?
And so at that time, we evaluated over 20,000 cases at that time and filed about 12,000. And since then, we've worked on a lot of high-level mass tort litigation, and then individual cases like trucking and auto and motorcycle within Mississippi, as well as medical malpractice.
Got it. So I want to talk a little bit about that BP oil spill case. Where was the mess up? What happened?
Oh, man. I mean, you've all read the headlines. I mean, there was a lot that went on with that, some choices that were made
Yeah.
by Halliburton, Transocean, and BP ultimately that led to one of the worst disasters we've ever seen.
Yeah. And that was just like, it was a big oil spill in the Gulf, right?
It happened on April 20, 2010. And I tell you, we were doing cases, much like everybody else, for 10 years, trying to get all those resolved.
Okay. And so, I mean, through discovery, what'd you figure out? Like where was the mess up? Who did what?
Well, I mean, generally speaking, they were way behind on production, made a lot of rash decisions, and ultimately, caused the well to have problems going all the way up. It broke off. Then, of course, everybody saw what happened with all the oil coming up through the Gulf onto the beaches.
Right.
Tons of people suffered losses. We did a lot of subsistence fishermen, so people who were relying on what they caught to feed themselves and their families,
Right.
and represented tens of thousands of those folks.
Tens of thousands of fishermen. Wow. Were any of them catching fish as, part of a company, or were they just doing it for themselves?
We did represent a number of commercial fishermen as well.
Mm-hmm.
Most of these folks were your everyday folks who were going out and catching it really to feed themselves and their families. That's kind of part of what they were doing.
Got it.
So we've done a lot of that. We've done a lot of pharmaceutical drug litigation on the mass level.
So which type of drugs have you worked on?
I tell you, one of the ones I really enjoyed the most was the Lejeune litigation, metoclopramide.
What's that one? What's Reglan?
What it was causing was tardive dyskinesia,
What is that?
involuntary movement disorders.
Got it.
And, we had a number of those cases around the country, but one that I really enjoyed was for a lady who was about 88 years old who had developed tardive dyskinesia. And she was from the Delta and had so much respect for her and everything she went through. And cannot tell you how excited I was when we were able to resolve that case. She didn't really drive,
Mm-hmm.
but with some of the money that she received, she actually bought herself a car and had somebody else drive her around. And just the pride that she had from having that car was just awesome.
That is so cool.
It was great.
And so what kind of drug was it that did this? Is it a painkiller, or what type of drug is it?
Yeah, so Reglan, not necessarily a painkiller. No,
Mhm.
it was used for various purposes.
Uh-huh.
And so that was a really fun case. And then outside of that, we've handled tons of auto cases, big truck cases, all that.
Yeah.
Just have resolved some recently that, you get to represent people who are just salt of the earth.
Right.
And I think that's what I enjoy most about what I do, is having the opportunity to meet them, meet their families, see what they go through, and really help them at times of need.
You talk about, meeting them, meeting their family and stuff like that. So what's your approach when you're handling cases?
So initially, when the call comes in, we've got a great team at the Diaz law firm, And we evaluate the case quickly. We will often go to their homes and go meet with them. When it's a really catastrophic case, we spend a lot of time within the home understanding their damages and what really has happened to them over time.
Right.
And then, of course, develop the discovery plan and kind of move forward with the case.
Is it you that goes and spends time with the family, or is it somebody from the office, or who does that?
We have a lawyer go and do that. Yeah,
Okay.
it's always the attorney's responsibility to go in and kind of fully flesh that out.
Yeah.
And I think it's really good because the attorney is really the one who's advocating
Right.
for that client ultimately. So to really experience it, have that opportunity to kind of see what the client's going through day in and day out
Right.
is really important.
Yeah, I mean, they're the ones that are going to be standing up in front of the jury, right?
That's right. I've got a case right now. I just had pretrial on it this past week up in North Mississippi. And it's a lady who was from out west who was driving through Mississippi and got hit by a truck that had a large trailer on it. And the person was from the East Coast.
Mm.
And she suffered a lot.
Yeah.
And had to have surgeries and stem cell therapy and things like that. And it's been going on for a while, and we're finally going to get her day in court for her in October. So we're really excited about that. Just having the opportunity to have clients be able to tell their story.
Right.
Most people want to be heard. They want to understand the judicial system and have the opportunity to share what happened with them. And in our cases, have an opportunity to get compensated for that.
You mentioned that she was getting stem cell therapy. Have you gotten pushback from the defense on when and if clients get stem cell?
We've seen a little bit of that,
Mm-hmm.
but I think if you're using physicians who are reputable, who have done it for a long time, and you see positive results from it,
Right.
I think that the juries will look favorably on that. And in her case, I mean, it's more conservative than going in and having a full-blown surgery.
Right.
If I was on a jury, I'd look more favorably on that she was trying to get better in a more conservative way instead of ultimately just going all the way for surgery to
Right.
begin with.
Exhausting conservative care before you have to do the ultimate thing, which
Sure.
is get the surgery.
And of course, the ultimate point is that they get well.
Right.
So we want to focus on the legal side of our cases, and we want our clients to do their job of getting well, however that may be.
You talked a little bit about I guess mass torts. You mentioned the Lejeune case. Are there any other mass torts that you guys or that you're interested in that you've done?
Yeah, so a few of them we're working on right now are the talcum powder cases that everybody knows about.
Right.
Camp Lejeune as well. And then the baby formula neck cases, necrotizing enterocolitis, the cow's milk based formulas that are causing neck in premature infants.
Are you guys litigating those, or are you guys working with other firms that are litigating them, or how does that work?
We are litigating those cases. Yeah. And I'll tell you, this is kind of personal for me because I've got a 2-year-old
Mm-hmm.
and she was a premature infant. She was born a little early.
What's her name?
Charlotte.
Cute.
Yeah.
Cute name.
And so she was in the NICU for a week. And it was interesting because when she was born, the head nurse that was right there said, okay, we're starting her on this formula. And it was a cow's milk based formula. And I said, no, you're not.
Yeah.
You don't have consent for that. And we went round and round, and it was one of those things where I finally got her to understand, hey, we're in the middle of this, and this is not going to be the right solution for her.
Yeah.
And so it took a couple of days, and we got her on the right formula.
Yeah.
That was more soy milk based.
Okay. So what's wrong with this particular formula that you're litigating?
Yeah. So this formula is, aside from just the fact that the premature infant's GI tract just can't handle it.
Mm-hmm.
What ultimately happens is that if you're familiar with necrotizing enterocolitis,
Assume I'm not. What is it?
yeah, so it's a condition where in the GI tract everything starts to break down,
Uh-huh.
and depending on how early it's caught, sometimes you can get it to where it goes away. Other times you have to have surgical intervention, and you have to do resections and take out part of the baby's gut,
Oh.
and it's not a fun process for anyone.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that throughout this case, I've gone to my first baby funeral, which has been just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And hearing the client's story is just even worse.
So how did you develop the direct cause from the formula?
So we're working with a team that has been working with a lot of experts,
Mhm.
and all of that is still it's coming to fruition. There are trials coming up, uh, and that the expert team has done a lot of work on that.
Yeah. And what have they established?
Well, we've established cause, and I would rather let them talk about all that in trial
Yeah. Okay. So it's a little early to bring
yeah
it out on a
than go
podcast.
over that on a podcast. But those cases are going on. There have been some verdicts already in some of the cases, which are good.
Yeah. So some of the bellwethers.
Yeah.
Great. And where were those?
So there was a really good verdict in St. Louis.
No kidding.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of really good stuff going on,
Mhm.
and I think you'll continue to see that.
Yeah.
But it seems like day in and day out, as attorneys, we're constantly battling insurance companies, big corporations,
Right.
environmental polluters, who are just making bad decisions and as a result have to be held accountable.
So what do you think is the counter to that? So um, currently, I feel like there's a big push to deregulate almost everything. Do you think that's going to hurt or are you going to help the country in general?
I think it's certainly going to hurt. I mean, there need to be checks and balances where they're held accountable. And it's really interesting. I've seen a lot of that. I just finished up my year as president of the Mississippi Association for Justice, Mississippi Trial Lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
And as part of that, as I've been doing for really the last 15 years anyway, we work a lot on legislative efforts
Yeah.
to help hold people accountable for bad decisions. And it's interesting the types of bills you see come up in the Mississippi legislature and legislatures around the country year in and year out, such as the pesticide immunity bill, which is something you've seen.
Yeah. Well, tell us about that.
So Monsanto and Bayer have been pushing it to get chemical companies and really pesticide manufacturers immunity from any type of litigation.
Oh my gosh.
And it had more legs than you would think, and
Really?
they were unable to get it passed thus far in Congress, and so they've taken a strategy to hit 20 plus states, and Mississippi was one of the first they were looking at this year, and thankfully our legislators had the wisdom to not allow that to pass.
What would be the incentive? Why would anybody pass that?
I think part of their messaging was that if they aren't allowed to have that, then Roundup, for instance, would be taken off the market. And your commercial farmers like using Roundup for weed,
Right.
kind of doing all that.
And for people that don't know, Roundup has been shown to cause cancer, correct?
Correct. Yep. Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Yeah. So they don't want to be held responsible for causing cancer.
Correct. Makes sense, right?
But I'm trying to understand. I mean, what arguments have you heard where, yeah, you know what, that sounds like a great idea. Let's make them immune. Is it because of cost?
I don't think it's really the immunity issue that people are worried about. I think it's more so on the farmer's side, not having access to the product. That's the bill of goods they're trying to sell to them.
Right.
And so that's the messaging that the company has been trying to work on, which is why you're seeing some of these trade groups pop up
Mhm.
and are doing messaging across the country in the states where they're targeting those legislators.
Right.
And thankfully that didn't pass in Mississippi. It may come back again next year as well as other states.
So I guess from the farmer's perspective, if I don't have access to Roundup, I don't have access to good pesticide, meaning, pests are going to kill all my crops and I can't
Correct.
feed, the country can't get fed because I don't have access to this pesticide.
That's right. And that's the argument that we've heard from various trade groups within Mississippi. And so that's just one of the bills we've seen. There was a cybersecurity immunity bill, like for
Okay.
data breach cases.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me about that.
Well, they're trying to give immunity for any type of data breach case.
Yeah.
And, you're seeing a lot of those around the country right now.
Is that like from hackers?
Yep.
Okay.
Correct. Basically saying as long as they're meeting higher levels of care with regards to protecting information, then they shouldn't be held accountable.
Mm.
So we saw some of that. We also saw another big bill was trying to give protections to people like McKesson or companies like McKesson, AmerisourceBergen from lawsuits like the opioid litigation.
Mm.
So, I mean, we're seeing a lot of this stuff day in and day out.
Right.
Other states are seeing stuff regarding caps on fees. They're seeing collateral source issues.
Yeah. We just talked about that in another episode where there's caps on non-economic damages in Tennessee. Does Mississippi have anything like
We
that?
do. Yeah, we've got a $1 million non-economic damage cap in most cases.
And how does that affect the, clients? I mean,
Well, it certainly affects their ability to maximize recovery
yeah,
in really catastrophic cases, but it also trickles down to even your basic personal injury case, because your cases have been devalued because of a limit on damages.
one way I've heard that change is made is through verdicts and through results. And it's not necessarily just because you're helping somebody get a recovery, but also you're sending a message. Do you feel like the caps in Mississippi are kind of hurting the people there and not sending a message to corporations because they're limited?
I think they're definitely hurting the most catastrophic of cases and victims, people who have been injured through no fault of their own and are having the unfortunate task of having to try and recover when they're not able to get a full measure of damages. And I'm hopeful that our legislature is going to do something about that and at least tie it to inflation or something to try and raise the caps, if not eliminate them completely.
What do you say to the opposite of that, is where these caps are necessary in order to be able to conduct business in the state?
I think that really the only time when you have an issue on the caps, there has been something egregious that would have happened that would have caused some type of catastrophic incident where somebody needs additional care and they've suffered so much pain, whether it be physical, emotionally, mental, whatever it may be. And that's really what it's there for, is to help those folks. And when you cap that, you may be helping business, but I'm not sure that in the case for Mississippi that it's really helped that much. I mean, you're seeing businesses come in, but I think most businesses understand that if you've done something wrong, you got to be held accountable for it.
Right. And so you feel like these caps are just allowing them to evade, accountability.
Somewhat of a get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the most egregious of cases.
Can you think of a case off the top of your head where this has happened?
Oh, sure. I mean, there's cases every day regarding quadriplegics who will never recover a full measure of damages because the pain and suffering caps and the non-economic damage caps are where they are. And it also is like that in medical malpractice cases in Mississippi that may have a $500,000 hard cap on economic and non-economic if it's a tort claims like UMMC, University of Mississippi Medical Center,
right,
or a $500,000 non-economic damage cap against a private doctor or a private office. Usually, when we do med mal cases, somebody has passed away, they've lost a limb, something really, really bad has happened to cause that. And when we take a case like that, it's difficult to tell the family, hey, you're going to be limited in anything you can recover.
Especially right now. I mean, unfortunately, because of inflation and the way things have progressed, $1 million doesn't get you far anymore.
It doesn't on the general side, and 500,000 on the medical side. It absolutely does not. Now, there are states that have less, there are states that have more. So I would say we're in the middle on a lot of that, but it doesn't make it any easier to have those conversations with the family.
Yeah. So how do we join the fight? How do we stop this or move it in the other direction? What do you think is the best way to do that?
Well, right now, I mean, we're certainly continuing the conversation with the decision makers. I think having the appropriate legislators advocating appropriately for these clients and having them understand, having them meet with these folks, I think, at the ballot box, that certainly makes a difference, especially on the national scale.
Right.
When you have companies that are advocating for total immunity in Congress, it certainly makes a big difference. Having somebody appropriately in the White House who can advocate or whether it be veto or sign bills that are passed by Congress that help consumers and everyday Americans within Mississippi, getting involved in the fight, having your clients really participate.
Right.
Same thing with the ballot box. And we have, elected judges in Mississippi, and, they follow the law. But, I don't foresee at this exact moment anything getting overturned at the Supreme Court.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I might be a little tough right now.
It is. It's difficult. And, but it's something we continue to do day in and day out. We're certainly not going to stop.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate that, and we appreciate you fighting.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about trucking? What you enjoy about it? What kind of cases you enjoy working on?
Trucking cases are important because having the ability to help people, again, when they need it at their most difficult time.
Mhm.
You see these big trucks, these commercial vehicles constantly just do things the wrong way.
Yeah.
Bad conduct, whether it be on purpose, not on purpose. And when you have big trucks, usually you have big injuries.
Yeah.
We've seen at the conference some of these video clips of trucks just demolishing cars in front of them. I mean,
Right.
that's not supposed to happen.
I always tell my wife, like, when we're driving on the highway, don't go near that truck. And she would say, well, they're professional drivers. Like, no, you'd be surprised. Some of the people I've deposed that you don't want that person driving, but they are.
No, and they got CDL licenses, so they're professionals, right? But that doesn't make them immune from falling asleep, or heck, they may have felonies on their record and maybe shouldn't be driving to begin with.
Right.
I just finished up a case recently where one of the driver of the 18-wheeler had actually run into a house before.
What?
And none of that was disclosed.
So
we were able to figure it out through
Yeah.
some witnesses.
Okay, so you got it uncovered through witnesses?
Yeah. So I mean, there's some of the things they do is just blows your mind. Although after you do it a while, I guess nothing really does. But
Yeah.
you get really severely injured plaintiffs,
Mhm.
people who are really hurt,
Right.
and they need your help. And so I think it's important to have a good advocate on their side for that. And so having the opportunity to come to these seminars, whether it be NTL's Big Truck and Auto Summit, or any other one where you get to speak with other like-minded colleagues and have the ability to discuss these important topics so that you can take back and help your clients in the same way, I think is really important to do.
Yeah.
You get good education, you build relationships, and you help clients in the process.
Lifelong learning.
Absolutely. I think that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
I think it's the practice of law because you're continuing to do it day in and day out. That's why you see people in our profession do it 50 plus years.
Right.
You have the opportunity to do that as long as you stay sharp. And so I think these conferences help you do that.
How do you feel that autonomous vehicles are going to change trucking and, maybe auto accidents in general?
Well, it's really interesting because you're seeing some different things go around, the legislatures in the different states and also in Congress right now. But I think it's definitely going to change from an insurance standpoint.
Mhm.
Are you going after an insurance policy, or are you going after a products liability case
Right.
against a corporation? Recently AAJ was just in San Francisco, and there was lots of Waymos
I missed that one.
running around.
I should have gone to that one.
Yeah. And so the thought a long time ago would have been, man, how are we ever going to be in a driverless car? But it's becoming more and more of a reality.
Yeah.
But things are still happening.
I've been told by somebody that owns a trucking company that they expect most trucks to be autonomous by 2030. I don't know how true that timeline is, but that seems pretty close.
It does. It's going to be really interesting to see how many crashes take place once you see more autonomous big trucks or commercial vehicles on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, in theory, yeah, there shouldn't be any crashes. You should have so much technology and software that it stops itself.
Right.
And that's the ideal situation. Unfortunately, as we know, the ideal situation never happens day in and day out.
Yeah.
And people get hurt in the process.
Yeah.
And so I'm really curious as the laws change, whether or not a lot of these cases are going to turn from just a general negligence to a product liability case.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hopeful for the client's sake that it doesn't go full products, because it will take a lot longer for them to receive, recovery when they're hurt.
Right. Yeah, no, that seems like a much longer process.
I mean, we continue to evaluate cases every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the important thing about what we do is always having an open mind and being able to be available when that next case comes along, when you have the opportunity to help that client who's been hurt.
Right.
And that may be through a products case, that may be through a trucking case, it may be a motorcycle case. I mean, I've got a case right now that we're working on where a hit and run where a car who was high rate of speed, switched lanes, 3 lanes, just crashed into this motorcycle. And my guy just went flying through the air, and his motorcycle burst into flames. He's in the hospital for months.
Yeah.
And that gets into the follow-up issue regarding insurance.
Mhm.
And insurance is a big thing in Mississippi because you've got close to 29% of people who are in Mississippi driving around without insurance at all, no liability
Yeah.
insurance. And so you have uninsured motorist coverage ideally.
Hopefully.
Yeah, but people shouldn't be on the road without insurance.
Yeah. So what do you do in that situation? I mean, I heard of a guy saying that, well, we just hope that an insurance company makes the wrong decision and denies unjustifiably, or maybe there's a deep pocket somewhere.
And in most cases, there's not. When you're looking at individuals, if they don't have liability insurance, it's unlikely that they're going to have a deep pocket to go after. And so you
Yeah.
hope that your client has uninsured motorist coverage. And we advocate that our clients not just have the minimum in Mississippi, which is $2,550, but that they go even higher to have at least $5,100, because
Yeah.
man, when people get hurt, it seems like these days everybody's medical bills keep going up and up.
Right.
And so even the minimums, just
No,
aren't enough.
It's man, we'll take care of it. I mean, maybe it takes care of a copay here and there, but
Yeah.
it's not going to help you out.
But that doesn't change the fact that the insurance companies, whether it be liability or still are working to devalue the claims as much as they can.
Right.
And, you got to continue to hold their feet to the fire and go to the mat with them to get the full measure of damages for your clients.
So tell me about the case, if you can think of one that you feel is most impactful to you.
The one that gets me teared up, I think about it now, are the baby formula necrotizing enterocolitis cases, because you're talking about just such an innocent population.
Right.
You're talking about premature infants who cannot make any decisions for their own. And you've got hospitals and doctors that should know better, but maybe they don't.
Yeah, maybe they don't.
The manufacturers are not providing the necessary information. And so then doctors are providing this formula, not knowing about the dangerous effects that they could be causing. And, then you got the hospitals involved with different contracts with the manufacturers, and they're pushing products. So they may have some culpability. But that one hurts the most now, because I see a 2-year-old that I go home to every day who I know was in the NICU,
Exactly.
who was a premature infant.
So you empathize a lot more.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you feel like becoming a father has made you a better lawyer?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's made me a better lawyer, a better person, much more empathetic.
Yeah.
You always want to help out your clients, but when you start to experience a lot of these things that your clients are going through, it gives you a better understanding.
Yeah.
And much better opportunity to see what they're going through.
Yeah. I feel like becoming a father, it also helps you kind of see the human side of people a little bit more, and also understand that, like, there's some things that they do that you didn't teach them that you do. And it's like, wow, I guess that's just purely genetic, isn't it? I gave them a really bad gene. They do that, and I didn't mean to give that to them, but
well, there's some of that, sure. I hope she gets a lot better patience than I have, but I can tell you it's really fascinating to watch her use a cell phone. And, we let her watch children's programs on YouTube. And so to watch her kind of flip through some of the ads, stop and hit skip, and just go right to the next video, or go scroll up. And
at
then
2 years old.
Yeah, at 2 years old. It's just like, how do you know that?
Yeah, that's
and
crazy.
So I'm just in awe every time I just watch her do something, because I think, man, did I do that at 2 years old? I have no idea. But it's great. It's a privilege having the opportunity to be a father, and Charlotte's just been fantastic.
Would you let her go to law school?
Right now? Yeah. Because I mean, part of the reason I went to law school was to not have the wool pulled over my eyes, and be able to help people, when they need it. My dad's a lawyer. My youngest brother's a lawyer. They practiced together back in South Carolina.
What do they do?
Predominantly real estate transactional work. And then my brother does some PI, some criminal, various things. But I remember early on, it was the Mr. Knows It show when I was 3 years old, which was a local weatherman who had this show on NBC. And he And our 3-year-old class took a field trip over there to this Mr. Knows It show. And he said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I said, "I want to go to the office and be a lawyer like my daddy." Because, you got to see what he was doing day in and day
Yeah.
out. I mean, I remember when he was doing a capital murder trial, we all of a sudden took this surprise trip to Disney World.
Yeah.
And later find out, that he was carrying a gun because there had been death threats and everything
Oh my
else. So, I mean,
gosh.
it's just,
That's scary.
being able to represent people when they need you, just
Mhm.
having that opportunity
Yep.
to know that they're coming to you for help,
Yep.
and you have the opportunity to do that is really humbling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's something that I take very seriously, and want to work as hard as I can for them.
Well, we appreciate you. Thank you for fighting the good fight. Thank you for joining us today. How can people get a hold of you?
Can certainly call me at the office, 601-607-3456, diazlawfirm.com. Happy to help any way we can.
And are you on social media or anything like that?
Yeah, I've got Facebook, Instagram.
What's your Instagram handle?
I think it's at Tripp Segars is what it is. TRIPPSEGARS.
Sounds great. Well, thank you very much for talking with us.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate you.